Sauron is remembered as the great enemy of Middle-earth, but he was merely a lieutenant. His master was Morgoth, once named Melkor, the most powerful spirit ever to walk the world. Morgoth was the first Dark Lord, the fountain of all evil, and his shadow stretched across every age. Long before Middle-earth existed, there was only the creator, Ilúvatar. From his thought came mighty spirits, the Ainur, each carrying fragments of his vision. Some were spirits of sea and stone, others of flame or wind. Together, they sang the first music of creation, and in their harmony the world was imagined. Among them, Melkor was greatest, vast in knowledge, unmatched in strength, but filled with restless pride. As the Ainur sang, Melkor wove his own melody. His notes clashed with the harmony, filling the vision with storms, fire, and chaos. While others built beauty, he sought to dominate, to bend the song to his will. Though Ilúvatar wove even this discord into his design, Melkor's rebellion became a scar on creation, a wound that would never fully heal. When the world was formed, some of the Ainur entered it to shape and guide it. These became the Valar, the powers of Arda, guardians of mountains, seas, and skies. To mortals they seemed like gods, yet they were servants of the Creator. Melkor came among them, but where they nurtured and healed, he sought only to master. His desire was not stewardship, but dominion. From the beginning, Melkor waged war on his kin. Where the Valar raised mountains, he tore them down. Where they filled valleys with water, he dried them with fire. Creation became a battlefield, and beauty twisted into ruin as soon as it was made. The world bore the marks of his wrath, and Melkor's hand shaped it into a place of turmoil. To bring order, the Valar raised two colossal lamps to light the world, Iluin in the north and Ormal in the south. Their radiance bathed Arda in harmony, but Morgoth struck them down with violence. The land cracked, seas poured into valleys, and darkness spread once more. In the far north he built his fortress, Utumno, filling it with fire and shadow. Beneath the stars, the elves awoke beside a still lake. They were the firstborn children of Ilúvatar, radiant and strong, filled with wonder at the world around them. The Valar loved them, but Melkor looked on with envy. He could not shape life, so he sought to corrupt it. By terror and torment, he captured elves and twisted them into orcs, a mockery of creation. The Valar would not suffer such evil. They marched in power, broke Utumno, and cast down Melkor. Bound in Angainor, a chain of unbreakable might, he was dragged before their judgment. For 3 long ages he sat in darkness, silent and brooding. His body was captive, but his malice was free, and vengeance burned hotter with every passing year. When at last he was released, Melkor cloaked himself in humility. He spoke as if noble, his words smooth as flowing water, and many elves welcomed his counsel. Yet behind the mask he whispered envy, setting kindred against kindred. His lies spread like a slow poison, and though he smiled in the light, his hand was already guiding the world toward ruin. Among the elves was Fëanor, greatest of craftsmen, whose spirit blazed with fire. From his hands came the Silmarils, jewels that captured the eternal light of the 2 trees, glowing with a radiance no shadow could dim. Melkor gazed on them with hunger. In their brilliance was a glory he could never forge, and desire for them consumed his heart beyond reason. Melkor found his chance. With Ungoliant, a monstrous spider from the void, he crept into Valinor. Together they drained the 2 trees until only withered husks remained, plunging the world into darkness. Amid the grief and confusion, Melkor stole the Silmarils and fled. The greatest light of the world was lost, and despair, heavier than death, fell upon the elves. Melkor returned to the north, where he raised Angband, a fortress of fire, smoke, and iron. Upon his brow he set the Silmarils, bound into a crown of iron, a symbol of defiance and theft. In that hour he named himself Morgoth, the black foe of the world. At his side stood Sauron, his lieutenant, who ruled in his name and mastered dark sorcery. The theft of the Silmarils drove Fëanor and his 7 sons to a dreadful vow. They swore to pursue the jewels to the ends of the earth, slaying any who withheld them. The oath burned like fire in their veins, binding them to bloodshed and tragedy. In their fury, they left Valinor, walking straight into the doom Morgoth had prepared. The Noldor pursued Morgoth into Beleriand, the western lands of Middle-earth. For centuries war raged. Morgoth commanded from his throne, but often it was Sauron who led his armies, twisting battles with sorcery and deceit. Orcs, wolves, and fell creatures poured endlessly from Angband's gates. Victory for the elves came rarely, and each triumph was paid for in rivers of blood. Among Morgoth's greatest servants were the Balrogs, spirits of fire corrupted into demons of war. Their bodies burned with shadow and flame, their whips cracked with molten fire, and their blades glowed with terror. They marched at Sauron's command, symbols of ruin that broke the will of even the boldest. To face a Balrog was to stand against despair itself. In this age, the race of men awoke in the eastern lands. Unlike the elves, they were mortal, their lives brief, yet filled with freedom. Morgoth moved swiftly to ensnare them, offering power, wealth, or fear. Some bent to his will, but others resisted and stood with the elves. From the first dawn of their history, the fate of men was bound to his shadow. Morgoth hungered for greater weapons. From his forges came Glaurung, the father of dragons. His scales defied steel, his breath was fire, and his eyes were filled with cunning malice. He scattered armies, melted walls, and sowed terror across kingdoms. With Glaurung, Morgoth unleashed destruction beyond measure, but dragons became the engines of his wrath, feared above all others. The elves were proud, and Morgoth exploited every weakness. He sowed division, lured kings into betrayal, and turned kin against kin. Great alliances fractured, and noble houses were undone by pride. Though the elves fought with unyielding valour, they could not withstand his endless hosts. One by one, their realms collapsed, and the shadow of Angband spread over all of Beleriand. Among the greatest of men was Húrin, who defied Morgoth in open war. Captured alive, he was bound in chains and cursed to watch the ruin of his family. His son Túrin's fate twisted into endless tragedy, each choice leading to sorrow and blood. Morgoth delighted in such cruelty, for he craved not only conquest, but the breaking of every spirit that opposed him. Even the mightiest strongholds could not withstand him forever. Gondolin, betrayed and consumed in fire. Nargothrond, swallowed by dragon flame. Doriath, broken by greed and murder. Each downfall bore Morgoth's hand, whether through force, corruption, or betrayal. With every ruin, his crown seemed unassailable, the Silmarils blazing with stolen light, while hope itself seemed ready to wither and fade. At last, the Valar could endure no more. From their western realm they came in wrath, bringing with them powers vast beyond measure. Armies of elves and faithful men marched at their side, and the very seas shook with their arrival. Thus began the War of Wrath, a struggle that would shake the foundations of the world and decide its fate forever. Morgoth unleashed his greatest servants. Dragons of fire and wing blackened the sky, spewing ruin upon the armies below. At their head flew Ancalagon the Black, mightiest of all, whose shadow spanned mountains. Yet the Valar summoned the eagles, vast and innumerable, and the skies erupted in war. Ancalagon was thrown down in ruin, his fall breaking peaks and changing the land forever. Angband fell. The iron mountains cracked, and the earth split beneath the weight of battle. Morgoth was dragged from his throne, weeping in terror, for at last he feared his enemies. His crown was torn away, the Silmarils searing his flesh as their holy light rejected him. Bound once more in Angainor, he was cast into the timeless void beyond the world. Yet his defeat was not his end. His malice had seeped into the very fabric of Arda, a poison woven into stone, sea, and sky. This was Morgoth's ring, the lingering corruption of the world itself. Though his body was gone, his will endured, a shadow haunting every age, shaping the struggles of elves, men, and all who came after. Among those who endured was Sauron, Morgoth's most faithful servant. From him came the forging of the One Ring, the wars of the Second and Third Ages, and the great struggle of Middle-earth. All were echoes of Morgoth's rebellion. To know Morgoth is to see the root of every shadow, for he was the true architect of evil in Tolkien's world. His body was cast out, yet his will lived on in every act of betrayal, in every lust for power, in every dark whisper that tempts the hearts of men. His shadow was not ended, only scattered, and through it the world would never be wholly free.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more great stories. Cheers.